Hi guys, Frozen Hood here. Welcome to my channel and another World of Warcraft video. Should you play World of Warcraft Classic or Burning Crusade Classic? Yes, now there are 3 WoW games and choosing the better version is getting harder. If you're asking yourself which WoW version to play, you're probably new to World of Warcraft or a returning player. Or maybe you already got bored playing one of these games and you're considering switching to another. In any case, I know that choosing between 3 WoW games can be very complicated and confusing task, especially for new players. Making the right choice is important because playing games like World of Warcraft requires investing a lot of time and money. It is not free to play, you pay a subscription fee, no matter which version you choose to play. If you watch the entire video, you will be much more prepared to make your choice. First, allow me to say a few words for those of you who are new to my channel. Here you can find gaming performance benchmarks, video card driver benchmarks and World of Warcraft videos. If you want to know which is the best driver for your Nvidia video card or whether you should update it, consider subscribing to the channel. And World of Warcraft is one of the games presented in these benchmarks. So let's go back to the question of the day. Should you play WoW, WoW Classic or Burning Crusade Classic? In this video I will share with you my experience with WoW and I will explain the main differences between the 2 games. Oh sorry, 3 games. There is a huge difference between the modern WoW and the classic versions, which is a result of almost 17 years of development, new expansions, new territories, classes, races, visual improvements and thousands of other changes. Not all of them good, unfortunately. I'll try to focus on the most general and important differences, so the video don't become too long. First, for those of you who are new to WoW, let me start with a brief introduction of the different versions. The idea behind the WoW Classic was to represent the game in its initial state before the release of the first expansion called the Burning Crusade, with no further changes in the gameplay mechanics or any expansions. WoW Classic was released in August 2018 and in the first few months there was a huge interest in this game. But that changed later when most people reached the highest level with their characters, played most of the content, and there was nothing interesting left to do. Many of these players quit playing the game and there were not enough new players to keep most of the servers full enough, which had a negative impact on the gaming experience. Of course, other players continued to play and enjoy the game. Burning Crusade Classic extends WoW Classic with the first expansion that was released 14 years ago. It does not replace WoW Classic, which will continue to be available as a separate game and with separate servers. The modern World of Warcraft, also known as Retail WoW, receives a new expansion almost every 2 years, which brings many new things like new zones, new quests and storylines, new dungeons and raids, sometimes even new classes, races and changes to the game mechanics. The current expansion is called Shadowlands. It was released in November 2020 and is the 8th expansion of the game. If you want to play the newest WoW content ever released, you should choose Retail WoW. In WoW Classic you have a choice of 9 classes, while Modern WoW has 3 more options: Monk, Death Knight and Demon Hunter. You can check my World of Warcraft guide for beginners if you want to learn more about classes in Modern WoW and their specializations. Many things have changed during all these years regarding classes, including visual appearance, abilities, specializations and the talent system. Very important for the gaming experience are the changes in the specializations and the talent system. In WoW Classic you have 1 talent tree for each specialization, and you can combine talents from each of them. In this example, I'm showing the talent trees of a paladin. Each of them is divided in several tiers. You can choose talents by spending talent points, which you receive every level from 10 up to 60. The talent system in WoW Classic lets you customize your character in one specific way and game style. The problem here is that it is not easy nor convenient to change that on the go. In order to do that, you have to go to a class trainer and pay for a total reset of the talent points. Then you have to redistribute all your points. Each time you do it, the reset is more expensive. So most of the time your character will be either a good tank, a good healer or a good damage dealer. Which means that if you have customized your paladin to be a DPS, You will not be very effective if you join a group as a healer, especially at higher levels. This is what I don't like in this old talent system. That doesn't change much in Burning Crusade Classic or even not at all. The talent system in the Retail WoW is far more flexible. Here you also have one talent tree for each specialization, but they all work independently, and it is very easy to switch between specializations. So if I want to play as a healer with my paladin, I just switch to Holy. If I want to be a damage dealer, I switch to Retribution. And I can do this with one button and free of charge. Changing the talents is also very easy. From my perspective, this is a big plus for modern WoW. Classes in modern World of Warcraft are much more balanced, which is a result of many changes during all these years and expansions. It means that all characters that can heal, for example, usually can perform this role almost equally, and all depends mostly on the player's skills. Of course, all classes have some advantages and disadvantages in specific area, but nothing compared to the situation in WoW Classic and WoW Burning Crusade Classic. In classic versions of the game, because of certain limitations and misbalances in the class mechanics, some classes are preferred for specific roles. For example, mages and rogues are the preferred damage dealers, the former because of the strong area of effect damage, and the latter for the strong single target damage. Warrior is expected to tank and the priest to heal, no matter that both classes also have a DPS spec. I'm not saying that in modern WoW everything regarding classes is perfect. Not at all, especially since Blizzard implemented additional unnecessarily complicated character customization features such as covenants and conduits, confusing not only new but also more experienced players. If you want to know more about them, you can watch my video that explains everything about these systems. In WoW Classic you have access to a total of 8 races, with many limitations regarding the classes you can play with each race. For example, in modern WoW you can play as a Night Elf Mage or as a Human Hunter, which is not possible in WoW Classic. Also, in WoW Classic you can't play as a Shaman if you have chosen the Alliance faction or as a Paladin if you are from the Horde. Burning Crusade Classic brings 2 more races, Draenei for the Alliance and Blood Elves for the Horde. The first one brings Shamans to the Alliance and the second one brings Paladins to the Horde. In modern WoW you have a choice of 13 races, and when you have a 50 level character, you can start unlocking additional races called allied races, which are specific to the faction of your character. Currently there are 10 allied races, 5 of each faction, which makes a total of 23 races you can play with in the modern version. The gaming experience in WoW Classic during leveling is completely different than that in Retail WoW. In many cases you feel that everything you do is important, and there are so many things you wish you had time to do, and nothing is easy. Sometimes it is really challenging, and that's what many players actually like in this version. Let's take the in-game gold for example. You need it for spells, repairs, flying to other zones, leveling professions, or sometimes you just need to buy an item from the auction house because you really need it. For that reason, almost everything seems valuable, especially in early game. Even the lowest quality items are important because you can sell them. Spells are not cheap, so you have to choose carefully which upgrades to buy and when. Sometimes it is hard to decide whether you should use an item or it is better to sell it. Most of the time the fight difficulty is challenging, especially if you are not careful and you play alone. Even one single mob can cause you trouble if it is not handled properly and with attention. You gain levels very slowly. In Classic you need to eat food and drink mana very often. For new players, it is highly recommended to fight only with mobs with the same or lower level than their character. For stronger enemies you may have to find a group or at least someone to help you. And because of that you will need to travel more and explore more zones that are close to your character's level. You have to communicate with other players much more often in order to get a group for different kind of events. It may sound too hard and challenging, but this is one of the reasons why many players find the leveling process much more entertaining in Classic than that in modern WoW. Burning Crusade Classic is no exception in this regard, since there aren't any significant changes to leveling compared to WoW Classic. Leveling in retail can easily become very boring, especially to returning players who already know most of the zones very well. That changed a bit with the release of the new leveling system introduced with Shadowlands, but it still has many flaws. Everything is too easy and happening too fast, like fights, gaining gold, gaining levels, especially till you reach the level bracket of the latest expansion. You can level your character without developing even a single profession, except if you want to make some gold. But at the same time, there are very few things that you need gold for, and you usually earn it without even focusing on that. Having the best possible gear is not important. The fight mechanics is too easy. What will drop in a dungeon during leveling is not important, unless the item looks good on your character. At least with the new leveling system, now you can choose where to level your character. You can choose one of the old expansions and level your character by exploring its territories and doing its own quests. Your gaming experience while leveling in Modern WoW also depends on how you choose to do it. Many players are leveling their characters by doing same dungeons over and over using the group finder system, which is probably the most boring way to do it. Especially for new players, there is so much more to explore in Modern WoW. There are many nice zones you can visit with so many interesting storylines and quests. Most of the zones are not available in Classic because they have been changed or added with expansions. The group finder lets you find a group for dungeons, battlegrounds and many other events with one press of a button. You can also find lists of gathering groups for higher difficulty events like Mythic and Mythic Plus dungeons, normal, heroic and mythic raids, world bosses and others. There is no such group finder system available in WoW Classic or Burning Crusade Classic. You have to find other group members yourself, mainly via the local chat. This is not that bad from a social perspective, but there is one big problem, mostly valid for WoW Classic. These days it is very hard to find people for some of the low level dungeons and most of the medium level ones. Sometimes it takes more than an hour or two and it requires a constant advertising in specific chat channels. That problem is probably caused by the fact that there are just not enough new players or active low level characters in WoW Classic, or it is because many players prefer to buy boosts instead of doing dungeons the normal way. Boost means to have a much higher level character, most often a max level character in your group while doing dungeons. This will continue to be a problem in this version of the game, so consider this when you are making your choice. I don't expect such problems in Burning Crusade Classic, at least during the first several months after the release. I believe that this version of the game will bring a lot of new players. Also, I expect that a lot of WoW Classic players will join Burning Crusade and will level their new Draenei and Blood Elf characters. Searching for group for hours in WoW Classic is a very unpleasant experience, and sometimes I definitely miss the group finder system from the Modern WoW. Professions are a system of skills that your character may learn in order to gather and craft items. Professions can be very useful in WoW Classic and Burning Crusade Classic during leveling, especially those that let you gather different resources like herbs or ore that you can sell. Even leveling your fishing skill makes sense, something that many players completely ignore in Modern WoW. In Retail WoW you can completely skip leveling professions until you reach the latest content, because after that, leveling that profession starts from zero, with almost no connection to what you have achieved before that. Professions in Retail become important when you reach the content of the current expansion. In Modern WoW there is a very interesting reason to focus on making gold: WoW tokens. You can buy them with in-game gold and exchange them for Battle.net balance, pets, mounts, other Blizzard games, and most importantly game time. With this feature, spending time making more and more gold actually makes sense. If you develop the right professions, if you know how to make profit from auction house trade, you can make a lot of gold and save some real money for subscription fees. WoW tokens are not available in classic versions of the game, at least not yet. Pet battles are something that you may enjoy a lot in Retail. They are turn-based minigames. You can capture and level pets from different zones across Azeroth and fight against other players. As you can see, there are hundreds of pets that you can find, capture and fight with. It's an interesting and fun to play mode, which is not available in WoW Classic or Burning Crusade Classic. In Modern WoW, you can change the appearance of most of your gear with the visuals of other items. This can be done through the in-game system called Transmogrification. Many players enjoy collecting items from different zones, dungeons and raids and add them to their collection. With that, they can change their style at any time. With a high enough level character, you can solve older dungeons and raids and get many good-looking visuals for your gear. Unfortunately, this nice feature is not available in Classic or Burning Crusade Classic. That leads to another very cool feature in Modern WoW, the Adventure Guide. Here you can find very useful information for all raids and dungeons. And not only those of the latest expansion, but all raids and dungeons in the game. So for example, you can use it to find a nice looking gear for your character. For every dungeon and raid, you can see what items they drop and what they look like. Also, you can read more information about each boss in these events, for example what kind of damage they do, how to avoid it, what should you expect and do as a healer, tank or DPS. And let's say that you need a better ring for your character. You can check which dungeon has bosses that drop rings, so you can play them and skip the other dungeons. Very nice and useful feature that unfortunately is not available in both classic games. Regarding PvP, I'll first begin with the world PvP, because there is a huge difference here. In Classic, you have PvE and PvP servers. If you are in a PvP server, in most zones a player from the opposing faction can attack you. That may become a problem if the attacking players have higher level characters, but that also makes leveling and questing even more challenging and interesting. In Shadowlands there are PvE servers only, and the so-called War Mode, which you can turn on and off. When it is on, players from the opposing faction can attack you, and you can attack those of them who also have War Mode enabled. There are some benefits from taking this risk, such as an increased experience, gold and other currency gain from doing quests and mob kills. If you turn War Mode off, you will no longer be targetable by the other faction. There is also one more important difference regarding servers. In Shadowlands, you can create characters from both factions in the same server. In Classic, that is only possible in normal servers, but not in PvP ones. If you already have an alliance character, you can't create a horde character there. The PvP in Classic is limited mostly to open world interactions with the opposing faction and several battlegrounds. Burning Crusade Classic introduces the arena mode to the game. In Retail, there is a wider choice of PvP events, more battlegrounds, arenas, PvP island expeditions and world PvP events. And every new expansion brings additional content like new battlegrounds, new arena maps, rating systems and gear changes. Endgame is where Retail starts to shine. You have so much more things to do here. More raids and dungeons with different difficulties, more battlegrounds, arenas, world quests and island expeditions. The content and the game mechanics become more difficult and challenging compared to the endgame in both classic games. There are different events for both casual and hardcore players. Unfortunately, there are also huge flaws in the current expansion Shadowlands, which may ruin your gaming experience. The complicated Covenant and Conduit systems are confusing many players. Torghast, the new dungeon event introduced in Shadowlands, which was supposed to be the new thing in the game, is probably the most boring event I have ever played in WoW. What makes things even worse is that you are forced to play it repeatedly, because it is the only place where you can earn Soul Ash, the currency needed to make legendary items. For the new players, these are the highest level items your character can wear, and they are very important for the overall performance of your characters. If you want to know more about the legendary items, you can watch another of my videos, again explaining everything you need to know. Torghast and the fact that I had to play it repeatedly was the reason why I stopped developing my characters in Shadowlands and got disappointed by the expansion in general. The problem with WoW Classic Endgame is that nothing will ever change, which is actually the core of the concept. Once you reach the maximum level and go through all available content, if you get bored, there is nothing you can do about it, especially if you don't have friends to play with. But even then, doing same things over and over is not fun at all. And that is the main reason why I can't really recommend starting in WoW Classic servers, and playing that version of the game. In my opinion, Burning Crusade Classic is the better option if you want to have some classic WoW experience. It provides more diverse endgame content, and by the way, Burning Crusade is considered by many long-term WoW players as one of the best expansions of WoW. There are many so-called quality of life changes in modern WoW, but I can't list all of them here. Whether they are making the game experience better is another subjective matter, but some of them are really useful and make some things far more convenient. But they are not that important to be considered as a main reason to choose one version over another. The graphics quality of modern World of Warcraft is much more advanced and better looking than that in Classic or Burning Crusade Classic, especially if you play in higher resolutions such as 4K. But that also means that game is much more demanding and you need a better hardware to play it. The classic versions of the game run perfectly in much slower PCs, even on some of them that have only an integrated graphics card. Retail WoW is almost unplayable on such machines. It requires a powerful machine if you want to play it in 4K resolution or higher and having stable 60 FPS in writes at the same time. This is the last but probably one of the most important parts of this video. If I had to recommend one of the WoW games to a friend, I would tell him to play the modern World of Warcraft or Burning Crusade Classic. That would be different if Shadowlands was as good as many people hoped or believed it would be. Many players, including me, expected that it would be one of the best expansions of the game and the one that will unite once again the WoW fans, or at least more of them. Only then, Shadowlands would have been the only logical choice for both new and returning players. Unfortunately, that is not the case, and the current state of the modern WoW is the reason why classic versions even exist in the first place. Many promising features were not implemented the right way. Torghast, the so-called ever-changing dungeon, is just one example. It is a big disappointment. But don't understand me wrong, Retail WoW is a very good game and many players, especially new ones, can have a lot of fun playing it. There are many endgame modes that I enjoy very much, such as Mythic Plus dungeons that are not available in any classic version. Right Finder mode, in which you can train and learn the latest rights, Transmogrification and the much more diverse PvP events are features that wish they were available in WoW Classic games. The modern WoW is the future-proof choice, if you decide to spend time and money to play WoW. Even if you get bored playing it at some point, you know that sooner or later there will be new content coming, new territories to explore, maybe new races and classes, and hopefully new good features and additions to the game. The future of WoW Classic is not certain. We don't know what will happen with WoW Classic with the release of Burning Crusade Classic. Less players will stay in the game because I expect that the majority of Classic players will continue their journey in Burning Crusade servers. I expect that the WoW Classic servers will become much less populated, and that will probably lead to a worse gaming experience, because games like WoW are not meant to be played in single player mode. Burning Crusade is the better Classic option, at least for now. The good thing is that it provides the same challenging leveling experience like WoW Classic and a more diverse endgame content. Of course, in future Burning Crusade may suffer the same fate as WoW Classic. Sooner or later most players will complete the endgame content and nobody knows what will happen after that. How many players will continue to play that version of the game in that case? Will Blizzard continue to release other old expansions of the game, or Burning Crusade will be the end of the Classic journey? Only time will tell. I hope that this video was helpful to you and you are now more prepared to make a choice. Thanks for being here till the end. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. I will be glad if you share your experience with the different versions of WoW or with WoW in general in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one.